Hello and welcome to another episode of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDadFF. I'm excited today because what we're doing a roster review. You know, a couple weeks back, and he's been super patient about it, but a couple weeks back we were saying if we get 10 super chats, we will do a roster review, and just shoot the breeze for a half hour, try to help you with your roster. So we're going to break down how we do roster reviews. We're going to go over an entire roster here. Snoog, I love these kind of things because it lets us connect and it gives us a good opportunity to kind of, show everybody what we're talking about when we do roster reviews and how you and I look at our rosters.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. It's fun looking at different types of rosters and kind of seeing how people are building their teams, what they need help with, and kind of how we can dive through their roster and see what we could do to make better. And it's cool. Like Shazam, he's been playing Dynasty for 5+ years now, so he kind of has been able to build a team. He knows how it works, so now he gets to chop it up with us, and we can pick each other's brains and figure out what's best for his team. So I'm excited to do this one for sure tonight.
Shazam, welcome to the show, man. I mean, we're excited to have you. It was awesome having you interact with us, ask your, asking some of your super chat questions, and then winning that, roster review. You've been very patient with us. We're super busy, but I'm glad we could jump on and welcome to the show, brother.
Yeah, perfect. And I did not expect to win that. I encourage everyone just to shout out to a super chat. You never know. I never won in one of those things. I was pretty stoked.
Yeah, that was a cool thing. And Snoog and I love doing the wheels at the end, so everybody feels like everybody gets a fair chance. And so real quick, you have your roster here. We're going to start breaking that down. This is when we do our roster reviews. Snoog and I both do personalized roster reviews as far as like a paper review, like, hey, this is what we would do. We do videos, we do chats. So we're going to kind of break you through. But when we do these things and when we break it down with Shazam here, we're going to do positional grades, directions, team needs, assessments. We're going to establish that direction, and our trades are going to go with that direction. A lot of you guys make trades haphazardly, and then it doesn't make sense with your build. We're going to give you suggestions. We're going to talk about the rookie draft. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, Shazam, first, why don't you tell us a little bit about your, Dynasty career, like how long you've been playing, a little bit about the league, and then we'll start breaking things down.
Yeah. So this is actually a startup. I probably last week. So I'm going into like my 4th or 5th year, pretty vanilla standard format where it's 12 team super flex. Tight end premium, just 0.5, so on the smaller side. Start 10, so not too shallow, not too deep. 6 point per passing. That's like what I like to do. Yeah,
me too.
For this startup strategy, I kind of went QB heavy, building through the QBs because it's 6 point per passing. Then wide receiver, and then through tight ends and running backs. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. This league. So I'm in too many leagues. This league is actually juice. It's for tight ends. It's actually 1.0, not 0.5. My apologies.
Okay. All right. That's big time. All right. So the first part I like to do is we start breaking down, individualized. So I'm going to throw your roster up on the screen here, which is super exciting because we want to kind of look at it with you guys and look it over with you. And you're right. Yeah. I mean, when we talk about the quarterback position, you juiced it up. I mean, you have Jalen Hurts. You have Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa as your QB3. So the way I look at this is you have Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert. Both of them are what I consider foundational quarterbacks. And that's a terminology we throw around quite a bit where those are your guys, they're set it and forget it. You're going to be able to start them every single week. And Tua is a rock solid QB3. I don't love Tua as my QB2, but again, in a 6 point passing format, Tua is a rock solid QB3 if anything were to happen to Jalen Hurts, to Justin Herbert. So I think right there, positional grade right off the bat, I'm going to give this an A. I think you have 2 top 12 quarterbacks, and then you got a fringe one there. And I like that you got, Zach Wilson on there and Rudolph and Garoppolo, a couple like dart throws in case there's an injury. So Snoog, I'm going with an A on this. I think this is a position of power, a position of strength. We're going to talk about trades after we get through all the different, positionals. But what do you think of this quarterback room?
Yeah, I think he did an amazing job kind of building the perfect quarterback room, the perfect amount invested into it, invested into those higher guys, still locking in 2 top 10 to 12 quarterbacks. You got your powerhouse Jalen Hurts guy that's going to be your top 3 to 5 finisher. You got Justin Herbert, who's a rock solid QB1 for like 10 plus years. And then you got Tua, who's a powerhouse QB3 that you can plug and play any given week with injuries, with bye weeks or anything like that. And he can give you top 10, 12 spike weeks here and there. So definitely did a great job kind of putting the right QB room together, I would say. This is honestly like when you have a Jalen Hurts and a Josh Allen, you're probably going to be weaker elsewhere in most leagues. But with this type of league, it seems like you kind of balance it out perfectly, just locking in, making sure you get your cornerstone quarterbacks. Then you're getting your depth at QB3, some dart throw guys like Dad said, and then you can build out the rest of your roster. So I'd give it an A as well.
Yeah, Shazam, that's awesome. I mean, I'm assuming Jalen was your first pick, and then you got Herbert and BTJ. I mean, like, how did you go about getting Herbert, Brown, Brian Thomas Jr.? Talk to me a little bit about the draft process here, because you have a stacked top 4 players.
Yeah, I think I had 105 or 106 as a 6th pick. So I went Jalen Hurts. I do kind of regret it. Maybe I should have went Burrow, because just to diversify my portfolio, I don't really have any Burrow shares. Yeah, I went Hurt. Oh, go on.
6-point passing. I love Burrow, but they're the same tier for both of us. So
yeah.
I mean, you're splitting hairs there.
Yeah, so I wasn't too phased on that. And then on 2nd round, I went Herbert. I wanted to go wide receiver. I wanted to try something new. Usually I just go powerhouse QBs. But Amon-Ra got sniped. Then BTJ got sniped. And then so I was like, let me just get Herbert for the 2nd round.
Okay.
And then
that's an awesome room. How'd you go about acquiring? Because what I want to talk about next is your wide receiver room. So you mentioned BTJ, but now you've traded for him. You have AJ Brown, Brian Thomas Jr., Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, Xavier Worthy. I mean, it's a pretty stacked wide receiver room. No wide receivers on the bench, but that really doesn't matter when you're rocking 5 guys to start in your starting lineup. So how did you go about getting BTJ and AJ Brown both?
Yeah, so Hurts went first. 2nd round went Herbert, and then the 3rd round, AJ Brown fell to me, because once I realized I was going double quarterback, I'm going for the stack. I'm shooting for the moon. Then the 4th pick was actually T. Higgins. Okay. And then the 5th pick was Xavier Worthy, which is still on my bench. But yeah, we could talk about T. Higgins in a bit, because that's what I used to acquire BTJ.
Yep.
Yeah. What did you have to give? I mean, before we get into that, I mean, Snoop, again, you have a foundational asset. So I love that you got Brian Thomas Jr. Having AJ Brown and T. Higgins is, especially if you had gone Burrow in there, it would have been a little bit different. But I think having Brown and T. Higgins, they're both production pillars, but you go and you tier up from Higgins to Brian Thomas Jr., who we say is a foundational asset, under 22 years old, I believe, someone that's going to be on your roster for years to come. AJ Brown is your production pillar, a guy that, he's 27, but he is going to give you elite production. And then Snoog and I's favorite guy that we have on almost every roster, if you look at with the way we build things, we try to add Mike Evans into every roster, because he's that guy that's going to give you wide receiver 1 production and not cost you wide receiver 1 numbers. And then Worthy and Metcalf kind of finish out the room there, giving you a nice solid group of 5. Snoog, I'm again going A here. Like I'm almost at an A+, because if AJ Brown was a little bit younger, I think I'd go A+, but I have an A on this room as well.
Yeah, I have an A as well. To me, AJ Brown, I kind of look at him like a cornerstone asset. I mean, he's young enough, he's good enough, he's an elite asset to me. So it's BTJ and AJ Brown for me. But looking at this room, the first thing I see and think is, how am I turning Xavier Worthy or DK Metcalf into another cornerstone wide receiver? And I'm almost willing to try and use like that 27-second. We'll get into some trades in a little bit, but I think you're like 1 cornerstone wide receiver away from having an A+ room. And then kind of bumping Evans and Metcalf, or Evans and Worthy down to the flex spots. But this is, great. I mean, you have production with Evans and AJ Brown. You have very high floor with spike weeks in both Worthy and Metcalf. And then you have a rock solid top 5 dynasty wide receiver in Brian Thomas Jr. So again, you did a good job building out this roster. And you did a good job building it through quarterbacks and wide receivers. And that's what Dad likes to focus on. And that's what I like to focus on when building rosters, making sure we get both of those positions covered right away. because I can see your faded running backs looking at your running back room.
All right. And I mean, I see you still have your 27 first, your 26 first. You have a 109. So talk to me. How did you go from T. Higgins to Brian Thomas Jr.? Because that's a great move, and it doesn't look like it broke the bank.
Yeah. So Snoog's going to kill me. I actually traded 104 and T. Higgins to tier up to BTJ. Even so, he advised me not to. I wanted just to try something new. I feel like I wouldn't have done it, but let me talk about how I acquired 104. So I actually had 109 in the startup draft, which is you see it now. I actually traded it away. So I traded 109 and Kraft for the 104. Easy smash.
Oh, that's a smash. Yeah. And the great terminology. I love that.
And just because it's just, I mean, that tight end scoring is just juice though, right? And the guy had Jordan Love, so kind of made sense, but I still think it was still a smash deal. So I had that 104. So yeah, 104 and T. Higgins for BTJ, and then we swapped Godwin and DK. Okay.
Well, yeah, then you got another bump there at the end too, because Metcalf has more value than Godwin too. So I mean, at first I was a little scared there. I thought you were just going straight up, 104 and T, but you got a little bit extra in there. You moved around. I like it a lot. I mean, I think that actually works out. And sometimes this time of year we're trying new things. I mean, I just did a startup and I'm like, all right, I'm going to just try to consolidate, 13 picks inside the top 10 and not worry about having, certain foundational assets, but just trying to clump as many assets of high value together as possible. So, you try different strategies, you try to see what works. And how many leagues are you in?
I am in 7.
Okay. So you start to find what works for you, what you like. Right now, Snoog and I have done so many. We're like, this is how we do it. This is what makes sense. The next room I want to talk about here is the running back room. So this is the room that is the clear need of the team. I'm gonna give this, and I one thing that I tell you and that I tell Snoog and I tell everybody in the Discord and is I'm going to be brutally honest when it comes to positional grades and to try to think this is a D- for me. This is one where we have some serious need. Like Ramondre Stevenson as your RB1 doesn't make me super excited. Rico Dowdle as the RB2. Again, you're looking at he's a fine insurance back. He's a guy that and you have some upside insurance guys there. But I think ultimately we're going to talk about some trades to beef up this room because Snoog, I might be nice giving it the D-, grading on a curve because it's pretty close to an F. But we're going to take that. We're gonna look at these other because your wide receivers and your quarterbacks are so strong. I think we can come away with something here that's going to give you a nice balance.
Yeah, you need Ramondre to be a hit. Like you absolutely need him to be good and to be like a top 15 guy again, like he was in his second year in the NFL. Because to me, I think we could take the 109 and turn that into at least either 2 really good vets or 1 really good running back, like a Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams, James Cook, someone along those lines. And then we can be flexible playing around with that 27-second, maybe Evan Ingram, because again, you said it's juiced up scoring. So Evan Ingram in 1 point tight end premium is probably worth an Alvin Kamara, probably worth a James Conner, Joe Mixon plus. So I think we can kind of make it work there and fix that up, which I'm honestly fine that we kept it gross and cheap because I think that's the easiest thing that Dad and I can kind of construct trades for you is getting those running backs fixed. Yeah. The wide receivers and the quarterbacks are usually the hardest ones that people don't want to let go of. So you're in a good spot right now. I'm confident that we can kind of flip this around and make you a top 2 team for sure as a contender.
Yeah.
Just dropping this down below, patreon.com/smash accept if you guys want to do roster reviews or you guys want to, do it like this or you want us to take a look at it, just do that. And, Shazam won this contest, this review based off a contest. Snoog's girlfriend won one last week, but in a exchange for the rookie guy, he did buy her crumble because he is a gentleman. He's a gentleman and a scholar.
We ate it tonight.
Love it. You go the 4-pack or the 6-pack?
We did a 4-pack, but we only ate 1 each, and my parents had the other 2.
Dude, the 4-pack's the way to go. You cut them into quarters, you split them up. All right, Shazam. So the next one I want to talk about here, and then we'll start talking about trades because that's really where I want to get your input, is the tight end position for this particular format. I'm going to give this a solid B. Like it's not a B plus. I think David Njoku, tight end 11 last year. Evan Ingram 2 years ago was inside the top 5 tight ends. So you have 2 guys here in this format. If the Browns get a quarterback, you have you have Njoku who's going to put up points. And I know Snoog was saying about trading Evan Ingram, but if you're getting 2 points per reception, Evan Ingram 2 years ago was literally a league winner.
He probably scored like 350 points in that format. I'm going to look. I'm curious.
Insanity. So for me, I feel like that's another position of strength. So now before we start breaking into trades, I mean, like you're so far with the grades, how you feeling, Shazam? Is that kind of 340 is nuts. That's nuts. But how are you feeling with the grades? Is that kind of where you felt like your team was? And is there anything, questions you had on particular players before we start talking about some trade ideas and how we go about breaking that down?
No, I feel good. I'm ready for the trades.
And the dog's ready too.
I know.
The dog's letting us know he's ready. He's like, I'm ready for trades.
Because that's what we do, right? We're talking trades. So go ahead, boss.
I just want to say, I do think it's important for you guys to how you guys were honest with my roster. Sometimes you do got to have that deep reflection to see if you're a pretender or, a real contender, whether you like it or not. And that's what a lot of dynasty managers like myself, learn. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, the first time I did it and I gave somebody an F grade, they're like, Dad, that's brutal. And I'm like, I know, but this is what I do with my team. And if my team, like, I wouldn't sugarcoat it for myself. And that's why Snoog, like, I think that's why the things that Smash Accept resonate with so many people is Snoog do this and I do this just like we would our own teams. So the next part we look at our direction and need assessment. I mean, I think you have a borderline playoff team if we can add 1 running back. I think if we add 2, Snoog, this is a smash contender. I think this is a team that is definitely going to be in the playoffs. As is, if you make no deals and we just draft at 109, you're going to have to hit a running back and you could sneak in. But I think if we start to tweak a little bit and we start to, tear off a couple players, it's playoff bound for me.
You take an Alvin Kamara and Joe Mixon, throw it on this roster, and it's a top 2 to 3 team all day long, in my opinion. And Dad, you're the market value guy. Could you get an Alvin Kamara and Joe Mixon just for the 109 straight up? You probably could. Maybe throw a third in there, but someone would do that, especially if they're trying to rip it down and rebuild. And you can kind of go to them if they have a middling roster and say, come get a rookie first, especially during the NFL draft. That pick's going to go up probably another worth more than a second, right? Like it's going to go up. Rookie fever kicks in, especially in a lot of these dynasty leagues where people want to make picks. So I think that'll give you even maybe a Josh Jacobs and a James Conner, like a duo like that. I think that's doable with a trade like this.
The interesting part is your team need is not tight end. And in this format, Colston Loveland is going to go inside the top, probably 7. Warren's probably going to go 3 or 4. So it's really going to drop some value here for you. I think you're going to see Quinshon Judkins fall to 109. I think you're going to have some running back opportunities here that, I think at 109, you're going to have your choice of Ibukwa. You're going to have your choice of Quinshon Judkins. And if Colston Loveland falls, we don't even debate it. You smash that because in this format, Shazam, like he's going to be someone that's a league winner. And then that gives you 3 elite level tight ends where on the clock, we're holding that 109 as long as we can. On the clock, we'll shop it. And this is, a type of league where if you could trade into 109 and a second to get to a mid-second and a 27 first and start to build out that way, get some insulation or go from 109 and, we'll start talking about some of these other teams' rosters, but go from 109 to like 205 and have them throw in Joe Mixon, James Conner, Alvin Kamara, just another guy to get us through. Because you have the future draft capital and you have the wide receivers to build on. Now's the time where we start to try to add running backs in a non-cost-effective way in a cost-effective way that's not going to break the bank right off the bat.
I love that you said that, Dad, because I honestly think this is where my head's at right now. Hold the 109. You're probably going to get a Judkins, maybe a Caleb Johnson to a juicy landing spot in round 2 or Loveland, whoever it's going to be there. Say it's Judkins. You land Judkins. Okay, now you got Judkins, and then you got Stevenson at the RB2 spot. Take that 27 second and that 26 third and go get like a James Conner, Aaron Jones. Plug in just a rock solid RB2 for next year. And then you can play with that 26 first. And I almost think it's like, go get DJ Moore, go get Devontae Smith, go get somebody like that that's young but really good that you can kind of plug in so that you have 6 stud wide receivers that you can kind of plug and play. Maybe you could do that and then flip Worthy for a running back or flip DK for a running back. But I see so many different scenarios that you could kind of go with right now, which is good because usually people with rosters like this will be stuck. They'll have no picks or something's off, right? And it's kind of like, I can't make trades. But with this, you have that 109 that you could use to get another player, to get a running back. You get that 26 first you could use to get another player, get a running back. You have that 27 second and a pair of thirds that you can use to get an Aaron Jones and James Conner, whoever else is up, Najee Harris, guys like that. And then you could always throw, I don't know, a 4th in Josh Palmer, or a 4th in, I don't know, a 28 second when you get your 28 picks after the rookie draft. Yeah, there's just so many different ways you can go to get cheap veterans. And that's kind of what I'm trying to point out to everybody listening to the show too, is this is what I do. This is what I constantly am doing with my rosters. I'll reach out to Dad. I'll be like, are you paying 27 second and 2/3 for James Conner if this is the roster? And it's like, I have 2 rock solid elite RB1s and nobody else. And it's like, yeah, because now I have James Conner that I can plug and play and give me a top 15 week whenever he's healthy and ready to go. So that's how you win, is just making sure you have depth or making sure you have the right balance in your running back room and stacking every other position.
The positional sells here that I want to talk about real quick. My major sells on this team, and there's not a lot of them. I'm trying to use Metcalf, Worthy, potentially Njoku, and definitely Tua Tagovailoa. I see in the notes you said you've tried shopping Tua and Worthy, and is there anybody on your roster who people have really reached out and tried to come out after? Are there some guys in your league that are, starting to really regret how their draft went and they're trying to rebuild a little bit? Talk to me about the rest of the league, how active it is, and what we're talking about trade wise right now. Shazam, you still there, bro? Hold on, I think he's having some technical difficulties there, but Shazam, just kick in whenever you're ready. But yeah, like he said he's been shopping. He's been shopping Tua and Worthy to pretty much everybody. Has not had that. Hey, he's back. Shazam, welcome back.
Thanks, everyone. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's all right. So what I was saying is the next part we really look at is we talk about guys that are sells, and for me, the only sells on this team, for me, I would say is Xavier Worthy, DK Metcalf, David Njoku, and Tua Tagovailoa. So my question to you was, you said you've been trying to shop Tua and Worthy, no real luck. Are there players that you've been trying to that guys have been trying to acquire from you? And Thomas, I saw you put, can I buy a roster eval in the Discord? Yeah, DM me in there. You guys that are in the Patreon, DM me. We will try to get that going. But for this one, we wanted to just, focus here on what Shazam's doing. So, we talked about Tua, Worthy. Are there other guys that people are interested in that are coming after you? You're like, hey, I really want to get this player or that player. Talk to me real quick about that.
Yeah, I've been shopping. I'm really active. Unfortunately, in terms of like trying to see who rebuilders are, this is right after a startup. So essentially everybody's thinking that they're contending. I don't see anyone that there's only one person that really tanked for picks, and they only have just 2 elite quarterbacks, and everything's just all trash and picks. I do have 2 trade offers I declined. One was one person wanted Jalen Hurts for Trevor Lawrence and Breece Hall, 2 for 1.
Yeah. I mean, I understand where it's not bad, but I think that you have that Jalen and AJ Brown stack. I would counter. I mean, is he gung ho and Jalen Hurts? Because I would not be opposed to that for Justin Herbert.
1-2 flop.
Oh yeah,
or Herbert in a second.
Yeah, I was gonna say Herbert, and he said no.
I was gonna say Hurts. I was gonna say Hurts in a second for Lawrence, Breece in a first. I just don't keep your quarter. I would keep Hurts and Herbert the way they are. I think it's. I think you can use other pieces to kind of fix that running back room. I really love the strength and power that you have in that quarterback room right now. I think that's really the backbone of your roster. Like Dad said, I mean, it's not bad, but you got the stack with Hurts and AJB. That's going to give you some weeks where they're dropping 80 combined, right? So it's kind of I like the core we have. Has anybody offered you anything for running backs, or any running backs available? Or is there a team with 6 running backs where it's they don't have good wideouts or they don't have any picks or anything like that. That's the type of team I would be kind of looking at. Like who has Kamara, who has CMC, who has Mixon.
Yeah, there's a team that's hoarded about 5 to 6 vet cube running backs, whether it's Jacobs, Kamara, players like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
trade
unfortunately,
partner right
he's not. Unfortunately, he said he does not want to trade until August. So, in terms of this
Yeah.
one, I know, right? In terms of this 109, I truly feel like I'm gonna have to make the pick because I've been shopping. I actually traded Chuba Hubbard for the 109.
Oh, that's
yeah, I love that.
then.
Yeah,
Keep the
Chuba's more
109
like
and
the
keep it.
112. Yeah,
When Judkins is there, you'll get any of those veterans plus. Like,
and
yeah, even though it was weak, I wanted to just lean into that, just have to take the value.
Yeah, I saw Auburn dude wants Njoku from you. Is that correct? Is that the guy that we're talking about? He wants Njoku. Is he willing to shop Kittle, or does he want to add Njoku on top of Kittle?
I'm pretty sure he wants to add Njoku on top of Kittle. Just because
I like some of his assets. You know, I mean, he's got Walker, he's got Connor, he's got Adams, Kittle. Snoog and I are all about Kittle. You know, so we love those kind of moves where we can get, you know, if he's willing to, value wise, you know, it's in that same area.
What about something like Njoku worthy in a second for, like, Njoku worthy a second, maybe plus like a third for like a James Conner, Kenneth Walker, and Kittle type of deal, or like Metcalf if he values him over Walker, like something like that where he's getting a young receiver that he values over Walker if he does. I'm not sure where they went in relative to each other in the startup, but if Worthy kind of went a good amount above him or same with
this
Metcalf,
is the guy.
it could be an opportunity.
Yeah, this is the guy you traded with already because I see he has T. Higgins, he has Godwin, so you guys have already made some moves there. So it's good establishing a trade partner. I would definitely kick the tires with him, with Kittle to see what he has. Who is his backup tight end?
I think it's just Kittle. Yeah, I even tried reaching out
from you.
Yeah, I tried when I was doing that deal with BTJ and T. Higgins. I was trying to have him throw in Connor, and I throw in that my third, and at the time I had a second, and he wasn't budging. He didn't want to. I feel like this league is very running back heavy, where you can't just buy vets for cheap. Because I had the 205 and 206, and no one was changing their RB. So I saw that Tyreek and Mike Evans went on the block, so I actually traded 2 seconds for Mike Evans and Tyreek Hill. And then that's how I ended up with so I went 0 RB to, if I'm zigging, I'm going to zag, right? So I went 0 RB heavy on wide receiver. And then I traded Tyreek Hill for Chuba, then Chuba for the 109. So, you know, I'm just trying to go the other way when people aren't selling their running backs.
Yeah, and that's you got to be creative. And honestly, if they're not willing to buy your draft picks, you might be able to move up in your draft too. You might be able to do something like Xavier Worthy and the 109 for the 104 and a veteran a veteran running back, where you're like moving up to get yourself a Travion Henderson, to get yourself Hampton if he falls. You know, I think at 9 here though, we're probably going to get Judkins, and it's going to be pretty nice. You know, so we're definitely hold on to that 109. And no one wants Tua right now, which is unfortunate. You know, but I mean, you're going to be in a strong position there where the guy that I'm trying to add everywhere, and Snoog knows who I'm going to say, but you know, I've made multiple trades where I'm giving up Tua in a second and getting Fields in a first, because Fields is a league winner type that you throw into this equation, where Tua is just more your rock solid kind of guy if you can kick the tires on Fields. But I think we try to work Worthy and Metcalf into deals. We try to, you know, work that 109 in there. We try to beef up the running back room the best we possibly can. I would say hold on to your 26 first, but if teams are, you know, really starting to buy in on picks, I have no problem moving that either, Snoop, because I think this team has some built-in longevity where, you know, you're going to find yourself, we need to establish an RB2. And if Quinshon Judkins is your RB2 and Henderson plays, and Stevenson and Judkins play well enough, I think you're a contender pretty early. And then as teams start to fall out, they're going to know who the men from the boys are, right? And you're going to be able to trade that 26 first. You're going to be able to trade multiple different scenarios where you can beef up that room, because you're right. After a draft, if you drafted Derrick Henry, you don't want to trade him. There's no incentive there for you. But once you go 1 and 3, now all of a sudden it's like, all right, I better check out with Shazam because he's in need of a running back, but his team's real solid.
Yep.
Yeah. Can I ask one question?
Absolutely.
What is the
Go
gap
ahead.
between BTJ and the 101? Because the 101 owner is interested in BTJ.
Mm-hmm.
He has 101.
Does he have any running backs on top of that? Because like
He has
what
Brees and Brian
or
Robinson.
veterans? What about? No, I hate Robinson. Does he have any veteran wide receivers?
His wide receivers are JSN, Devonta Smith, and Addison.
Mm.
So kind of like just wide receiver twos.
What about
Yeah.
BTJ? What about BTJ and Worthy for JSN
Devonta
and the
101?
101?
JSN, now you're getting pricey. I think in this
You never
particular
know,
build though,
you never know.
like, I mean, having Genty would be phenomenal. However, it would be
I'd rather
crippling
keep
your other
BTJ with
positions
this
as well.
team. Yeah, I'd rather
So
keep
I
BTJ
would,
with this team.
yeah. And
Yeah, I
101,
like that one though. I like that one.
if
But
you didn't earn it, the 101 is just so expensive for a team like this. If you would trade BTJ for it, you lose some of that longevity, and then you beef up the running back room. But now all of a sudden, if you then move Worthy into the wide receiver 3 spot, then we're flexing. Who are we flexing?
Ingram.
Like, yeah, then we're flexing Ingram, and then if there's any injuries, now all of a sudden we're in a risk of not even being a playoff team.
Yeah.
would you trade 109 and Ingram 2-for-1 for JT?
Yes.
In
Yes,
this type of
I would.
in this type of scoring format?
I would do it, but I think it makes you a little bit tighter. I love Ingram in this particular format. Ingram in a standard Superflex tight end premium, I think Ingram's probably worth the 205, 206. I think in this one, he's probably bumped up to more like Snoog, 203, based on that it's 2 points. So the 203 and the 109 for JT, who's, 105, 106, I would do that trade, but I think based on the overall depth that we have right now, a 2-for-1 might hurt.
Got it.
Yeah. But you're,
so
I mean, you're a little bit more in a lock. I would love to do it more of take that. If we're trading that 109, I want to go backwards. I don't want to go up unless it's cheap, but I want to go backwards and get multiple assets where you get to, have some experience kind of moving it back that way.
Yeah, I've been trying to shop for 110, 11, 12. I think 202 or 203 was kind of like my cutoff. A lot of people are just trying to hold until the draft. So I've been trying to do that. Just move back, acquire like a vet running back, like a Mixon type, just throw in my third, no luck.
The weird thing right now is, and I think because of this class is so good at the running back position, people, one, are not sure what to do with their running backs, and two, they don't want to trade picks. I've seen less trading of picks in all my leagues than I can
ever
remember in the last couple of years, because people are like, yeah, but because 102 through 110 is like, there's not a huge gap between guys, so no one wants to really move up. Yeah. And after the NFL draft, though, I mean, then you're going to start seeing values change quite a bit. That's when the trading, I think, is really going to start to pick up, and I think we want to be here and help you throughout that entire process. So we'll definitely keep the DMs open. Are there any other particular trade questions? Because I think we're starting to get some good thought process. I think you have a really strong nucleus. I think now that you've traded up for BTJ, he's your cornerstone asset. I can see tearing off a Herbert, but I think that's not necessary with this particular team. Your strength is the quarterback and the wide receivers. So I would rather see you, draft at the 109, start to play around with Tua, Metcalf, and Worthy if we can. You can still tear off of some of the quarterbacks, but I don't think we need to yet.
I wouldn't mind turning Worthy or Metcalf into like a Kamara, CMC, Joe Mixon, plus another veteran. Like if you could do something like that. Like if whoever, I know you said like Kamara Jacobs guy is the same guy, but like maybe the CMC guy, or I don't know, the Joe Mixon guy or someone like that. Like if you could turn like Worthy or Metcalf into one of them plus another James Conner or maybe Devontae Adams or someone like that would be something.
Or even
cool
Metcalf. Metcalf straight up for Jacobs is a solid deal with the build. That we kind of go.
I did that in another league.
Yeah.
One last one with how strong because my team's identity's quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback.
Is it worth to risk to lose my identity, as in choosing trading Herbert away for a Gibbs and put my marbles into Tua as my QB.
If you get that, I mean, if you can get you can get a foundational, because I think if you can
get like a Stafford, I wouldn't mind having Tua and Stafford, but like
just Herbert for Gibbs.
If you can get that straight, you smash that every day.
If the Gibbs owner asks me to add, what would be the value gap between Gibbs and Herbert? Or what's the most I should add?
Right now, it's probably early second, late first, I think is the gap there. And I think if you could do it where, see, I hate crippling other positions.
I wouldn't do it. I don't like it.
You don't like giving up Gibbs? You're getting Gibbs?
I love doing that. I just don't like getting wicked weak at quarterback to try to upgrade running back when you can just get cheap running back.
Does he have
via draft?
Does he have a what kind of running back room does he have?
Let me look, but I know his quarterback room is very weak. He has just McCarthy and Sam Darnold. And
he doesn't want Tua. He wants to go for Herbert.
Yeah. Well, I could chop him. He has Barkley and Gibbs and Jacobs, Kamara. This is the guy who's hoarding all the running backs.
So I would throw him your 26 first and 27 second for Kamara and Jacobs and see if he takes it. That's what I would try.
Got it. Okay.
He sounds like he's staying in there a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to going after Gibbs, but I understand. I think I trust Tua a little bit more. I would try to, like I said, grab somebody on the cheap that gives you a third upside quarterback, whether it's Stafford for production or Fields for, an elite level upside. Tua's in 6-point passing is probably going to be maybe 3 to 5 points less per game than Herbert. But like this running back room, putting Gibbs in there over Rico Dowdle is like 15 points extra. It's just if Tua goes down, you're shot then. Because then you're going to end up having to
Zach
trade
Wilson.
Just
kidding.
Yeah, honestly, I just drafted him in round 25 of 2 straight startups because I'm like, new opportunity, good weapons. Yeah, that could be a thing. But this has been a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I want to first thank you for being so active when we have our live streams and for winning this particular giveaway that we're doing. We'll keep the DMs open here for a couple more weeks to try to help you guys out with some trades. They'll send you a link to the Discord with we'll give you an opportunity to check that out. Thank you so much, honestly, for the support in there, Shazam, because that means a lot to us. You said a lot of really, things that resonate with Snoog and I, where you've said that, obviously through the YouTube that you have noticed the increase in the channel and the community that we're trying to build. So we love that and appreciate that from you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really helped a lot.
Good, I'm glad, man.
Awesome.
Hey, if any of you guys want to check us out, make sure you guys we have links in this particular show. If you guys are on YouTube and you're like, how do I get a hold of us? We are on Twitter. I'm at DynastyDadFF. He's at FFSnoog. I put the email address in there if you guys are not on Twitter. You guys want to try to get it on there. And we'll I put Snoog's girlfriend's number on there in case you guys want Crumble or no, just kidding. So hey, thanks for tuning in, guys, and enjoy the process.
Thanks, everyone.